It's now time to bring you the part two of the interview segment as we focus on the aviation sector here in Nigeria. Now, in the last few weeks, Nigeria's aviation sector has been thrown into a crisis following the scarcity of aviation fuel, which is known as Jet A1 fuel, leading to skyrocketing prices, doubling, tripling as much, with fuel selling for about 570 to well over 600 price band in Kano. Now, with this development, traveling by air in the country has become a grueling experience, with some rescheduling, delay, and even cancellation of flights becoming the order of the day, as hundreds of passengers have been stranded, according to some reports, and also at various airports across the country, coupled with the high cost of tickets. As part of efforts to address the protracted scarcity in the aviation sector, various stakeholders meetings have been held and continue to be held as well on the issue, with the recent being the meeting with the members of the House of Representatives and airline operators calling on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to grant them license to import the product in order to avert a shutdown of the airspace as well as stabilize the market. Well, the noise has similarly reduced, and to give us some more insight into what's playing out, some feelers in terms of the state of scarcity in the country, I have joining me now live in our Lagos studio the managing partner at Aviation Support Services Limited, Tayo Ojuri. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, let's start with our conversation with some cheery news a little bit. At the start of this week, we saw the president come down here to Lagos, and then we had the opening up of the new terminal here in Lagos. This is really critical in the sense that this is one of the biggest issues we've had in terms of public opinion, the reception of the state of airport infrastructure here in Lagos being a supposed aviation hub was a pitiable situation. So now with this new facelift, how do you see this also transforming the ease of doing business around the airport? How does this also change the narrative? But also have at the back of your mind that there are so many questions playing out here, especially within the realm of airport concessioning. Is it the realm of government to still do all of these? That's a big question.
So many questions in that one little statement. But the truth is, the new terminal was long overdue, and it's a good step in the right direction in terms of we now have a terminal that will be able to have a throughput of about 14 million passengers, and we have a good sense of place, great infrastructure that meets with best international practice. What needs to be done now is for us to ensure it's well maintained and well ensure that there's an ambience, sense of place, so that the food court is being able to be well taken care of and being able to have lots of food suppliers and concessionaires that are able to provide top-notch services for the passengers. So considering what you mentioned about is it the right place, is it the right thing at this time? Yes, it is, because it's going to actually augur well for passenger facilitation. This is really key. It's not just a perception, it's passenger facilitation, yes, ease of doing business, considering the airport is the first place that you have a semblance of understanding of what the country is like, and is the last place that you have the thoughts about your experience in a country when you're going out of that country.
Okay, now, sir, let's also look at the fact that we are having issues about government meddling in all of this and the volume of activities from government's perspective. In terms of the airport concessioning as well, the issues around that area, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I don't think it's government mainly. The institution, the airports are owned, managed, and operated as of today by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, which is a government, an MDA. It's a government agency. So it's not meddling. Now the government, in its wisdom, has opted to actually saying that in best international practice, it's better to cede this airport to professional airport managers of repute in terms of a model called concessioning or management contract of this airport. First off, they're choosing 4 airports. So it's a good thing, because in the previous segment, we talked about the government having very stiff or lack of lots of cash to deal with. So being able to let go of these assets would actually help government source lots of foreign forex, and being able to ensure that government gets lots of money for their operation, for the other things that are front burners, such as security, such as infrastructure, and such as education.
Okay, now let's also talk about some new developments that have also come to bear in the last few days as well. We are hearing of the Federal Executive Council also approving $92.1 billion for the construction of the second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, looking at a timeline of 12 months as well. This is another facelift coming to bear. What do you think about this development?
I'm of the school of thought that that runway is not needed at this point, because a runway is actually, it's driven by your flight movements and the passenger throughput. Abuja has not hit that passenger throughput, and even if you forecast that passenger throughput in the next 5 to 10 years, we don't see a need for that. We can optimize the runway that we have at this point, ensure that it's well maintained, ensure that navigational aids are put in place, and ensure that the ramp for operational ease and efficiency is optimized within Abuja Airport. That would augur well for flight operations rather than build the runway for that cost.
So
because if you do apples and apples, and actually looking at Gatwick, the number of per minute landings and takeoff at Gatwick runway in comparative analysis to Abuja, it's way apart, and they just have a runway. So you can optimize that runway, you can put navigational aids, ensure that it's best in practice, and ensure that they have enough ramp space for optimal movement of aircraft.
So for you, this is not a priority or an urgent development?
It is not.
It is necessary, but not now.
And don't forget, we're talking about concessioning. If we're looking at concessioning at Abuja Airport, why would we want to invest 92 billion in a concession asset that's going to the third party? How are they going to actually recoup that money within 25
under
years
the current structure?
Exactly.
Let's now look at the issue we have for today now, trapped funds within the aviation sector. According to IATA, we see here that trapped funds have doubled from the $147 million we had way back in August to well over $200 million by the close of last year now. This is a big contentious issue. Now, we also had the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, also call for a special window, foreign exchange window, to ensure that we have this sum stocked to be defrayed, and then also look at how this would also bring some ease in terms of how we also get Jet A1 fuel. How do you see this playing out, this call for a special window? Why is this critical today?
It's critical because the more we actually hold the funds for the foreign exchange funds for the foreign operators operating into Nigeria, it's going to make the cost of operations into Nigeria higher for these foreign operators. You're going to find out in the long run, the cost of ticket fares for passengers going inbound and outbound of Nigeria is going to be higher because they have their funds tied up here. So what needs to be done for central bank to, it's just been said in the previous segment, to actually have, we already have that preferential rate, but the challenge is being able to fulfill that preferential rate, which is known to everybody that central bank at this point does not have the funds to fulfill, especially the aviation sector only and across other sectors across board. So what needs to be is being able to stagger that payment. We've gone through this before, stagger that payment over time so that this is eased off, and we're able to ensure that the price of tickets within Nigeria are considerable, competitive, and that would actually help us drive the passenger traffic. With the passenger traffic, it actually affects the economic catalyst impact of aviation to the economy.
So having this come to bear is definitely going to change the body language we're seeing here, and also be a bigger incentive to have a much more active play here. But in terms of how you also see the CBN's allocation to banks, that was the previous conversation I had here. Now, the aviation sector is heavily dollarized.
It is.
So the reality is that we have a bigger demand for the aviation sector, but the demand versus what is provided, the allocations don't match. There's a big mismatch there. How do we begin to narrow down this looming issue of forex scarcity, especially as we're waiting for this special window to be created for the aviation sector?
This has been said as various fora. What we need to do is have lots of the services in-house or in-country. With the services in-country, that actually, like the maintenance, repair, overhaul, being able to take that out, like the training simulator, that's for the crew, that actually helps. If that's done in-country, that actually helps. All the training, all the maintenance, all the spares, yes, we have to go bare because we don't manufacture spares. Spares, yes, we can go and buy, but the training and all the maintenance repair organizations, if that is actually available within Nigeria, that's going to help us to actually have that money
cut down
of that money in-house and spent within Nigeria.
Okay, now in terms of the maintenance, repair, and overall facilities, why does this remain a blind spot for government, or a project that would that will be put within the backseat? I don't know if you understand the body language of government in taking this much more seriously to ensure that we have as much investment, to ensure that we have the MRO facilities here being done. Because if we are having conversations around making Nigeria an aviation hub and a whole lot more cutting down costs, it makes no sense for us to still not take seriously the state of MROs.
Yes, it's we've had lots of investors, lots of entrepreneurs come this way to show their interest in that. Again, that's where the government comes in, the ease of doing business, incentives to these MROs to be able to actually ensure that they're sustainable over time. And then we've seen, like, not just, especially within the aviation sector, the continuous change of policy, what we term in Nigeria policy somersault, which actually drives potential investors away, because having an MRO within Nigeria is a long-term project. And when you actually see that your investment is open up to the volatility and government changes, that actually doesn't make the Nigeria or the foreign investor want to come here to invest and put that large fund to the development and development of an MRO. But having said that, we still have Aero that's actually started an MRO way back. We have 7 stairs. Some MROs have started. It's just the type of checklist and the list of types of maintenance that can be done at these MROs that are limited at this time, and that's still actually a huge impact on the forex that's going out of Nigeria.
I like the word there, limited, really. Now, in terms of the outlook for the year 2022, now we are almost done with the first quarter of this year. It has been quite an interesting set of twists and turns that the aviation sector has had to deal with. We are still trying to find our way through. But let's look at the performance you anticipate for the year, for the second quarter of this year, 2022. Q1, we are still living through the terror. Q2, what do you see playing out?
Q1, we were actually just taking some breather from COVID, 2-year breather from COVID. From last Q1 report I just read, I saw that with lots of relaxation of travel, that's going to help us. But guess what has actually put a challenge to the wheel of progress now? The Russia-Ukraine crisis is affecting aviation so much. In terms of the cost of fuel, Jet A1 has actually gone up, and it's a global phenomenon. We actually have lots of legacy airlines already increased their fares and anticipating lots of increase on fare charges for summer and later in the year. So you find out that that's going to actually affect us, not only globally, but in Nigeria, because we've seen the fuel charges, like you rightly said earlier, from 190 in January of 2021 to now we're hovering around 500, and 500 is a fixed amount. So ex-Lagos we still have higher. So we're going to see in perspective, we're going to see that's going to affect us, the cost of operations. It's going to affect the price of tickets. The passenger traffic is going to go down. And we're going to have a rigid but a negative impact of this within Nigerian domestic travel market.
And with the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which you just made mention of, heightening the volatility in the foreign exchange market now, how do you see us also faring in terms of this forced crash down price of around 500 naira price band? Do you think that's sustainable?
It is not sustainable, but it's not good for us, for the aviation sector either. It's not sustainable, but we have to understand that the Jet A1 is deregularized. The market it's free for all. It's deregulated. So with that, with the regulated market, you find out by the time the marketer goes by to buy, they might not be able to get enough dollars. So it's a cyclical issue.
Yes.
They might not be able to get enough dollars to actually buy the Jet A1, which would increase the price, and we are forced as air transport operators to buy at that prevailing market
And
rates.
now with the issue of licenses being issued out to airline operators to import their fuel, how do you see this playing?
I see that as it's not necessary at this point. Because airlines should focus on their core competence. And what we've seen Delta with 860 airlines go to buy a refinery. That did not work, because with that, aviation has its challenges itself. Airlines should focus on their core competence, and with that, they should just actually, rather than set up get licenses, they should try the old reliable ways of hedging the operations, the fuel operations, which is about 46 to 50% of their operation, the cost of operation. Once you hedge with 3 or 4 marketers, that actually ensures for the next 6 to 8 months or within 1 year, according to your budget and your route analysis, you're able to ensure that you have a fixed price, and that would help the cost of operations.
And with that, you could actually run an autopilot and sleep a little bit.
Exactly, you have a peace of mind for a bit.
For a bit. Thank you so much for your time on the show this afternoon, Tayo Juri. It's really a pleasure having you. We'll keep our fingers crossed, see how things play out as well in the coming days, because like I always say, there are so many twists and turns within a space of 24 hours, and a sharp incident can happen.
We hope for the best.
We hope for the best. Thank you once again.
Thank you.